Hello, everyone. I'm Michael Moore. I'm an environmental economist at Cities. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for organizing, Dick and Karen and Paul. So let me talk about 4 topics of economic research to work on water sustainability problems. One is really the paradox of unpriced or underpriced water. The idea here is that we really believe that water is a fundamental human right. Everyone should have access to water. But the tension is that there's really no scarcity value placed on water. So economists would like water prices to be higher and to reflect that scarcity value and to resolve that tension. And there's some really interesting work in California, really, that has kind of solved this tension as a way of solving the drought in California. The second topic is water's cultural ecosystem services. So there's a variety of a host of ecosystem services coming from water. A couple that I'll talk about are just lake water quality, and then the idea of in-stream flow. So certainly in the western United States, there's a lot of diversions from rivers, and water in the river has economic benefit, so we try to estimate those benefits. A third topic is water and adaptation to climate change. So I'll talk a little bit about the western United States and interstate water allocation in the west, but as well with water, irrigated agriculture is actually moving east as it gets hotter in the east. So we see irrigated agriculture migrating. That's an interesting topic in adaptation. And a topic that I won't talk much about, I don't know much about, but it's probably the most important topic, is really the financing of water and sanitation services in developing countries. This is one of the sustainable development goals. This is probably more important than any of the top 3. So I talk tongue-in-cheek, I talk about the Moore Lab. When you're a social scientist and you're in Cs, you kind of have lab envy, because we really don't have labs. I've been looking for my lab for 23 years now. I haven't found it. But if I had a lab, I wouldn't know what to do with it anymore. So the topics that I'm working on the Great Lakes areas of concern. So there's a map of these here. And through generous funding from Sea Grant, we're looking at the economic benefits of remediation. Another study of looking at inland lakes across the United States and the benefits of water quality. Harmful algal blooms. So Casey just talked about the harmful algal blooms in western Lake Erie, kind of the iconic satellite photo of that. So we're studying the economic costs of the algal blooms in western Lake Erie. Our method for doing this is really to look at the impact of a change in an environmental amenity or disamenity as mediated through a change in residential housing prices. So we collect a lot of data on housing prices, we geo-reference it so that we know how far it is from the lake, and then we estimate impacts of how, in this case, with the harmful algal blooms, maybe beginning in 2011, they were much more massive than in previous years. So we want to then do estimate differences regressions, which I think in an ecological frame is called a BACI, or before-after control impact regressions, to estimate the effect of the massive blooms. Thinking about the AOC program, the projects that are being undertaken AOC by AOC are funded by federal laws. So the Great Lakes Legacy Act, the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative is still underway. So we're hoping to be able to kind of tie impacts in the residential housing market to projects under these laws. Thank you. And so, again, look at impact evaluation. A lot of stakeholders, the Office of Great Lakes for the state of Michigan, the Great Lakes National Program Office for EPA, stakeholder groups, NGO groups throughout the region. Again, with the Maumee River watershed and the harmful algal blooms in western Lake Erie, obviously economic information for public decision making. I'm very interested in future research, thinking about interstate water compacts in the western United States. I like to put up a map of the, say, Southwest and look at the territory. There's very clear boundaries across states. But I think that a map of the West really needs to incorporate water allocation. And I think there's probably a nice way to visualize this, where you look at the territory of the land, but then you combine the water allocations. This is the water allocation under the Colorado River Compact. In river basins throughout the West, we have these interstate water compacts. You then lay over climate change. Thank you. These were maps that were in the New York Times 10 days ago. Maybe many of you saw this article on Why Can't People Save Winter, which was really talking about skiing. But there's a dramatic decline in snowpack in the West, a dramatic decline then in water. So I'd really like to understand and study interstate water compacts. In terms of courses, I don't think Sarah is here yet. Is Sarah Hughes here? Yeah, so Sarah isn't here yet. Drew is here. I'm here. We can think about integrating courses in a water theme in a different way than we have before. We have kind of an opportunity here to do that with new people coming in and me retiring from associate dean. Thank you.